Good evening. We're here this evening to make a presentation to you. We represent Marin Health and Human Services, and we are part of a volunteer team called the FAST Team, Financial Abuse Specialist Team. And I am Roberta Robinson. I live in San Anselmo, and I am a former branch manager for Bank of America. And this is Oak Dowling.
I'm Oak Dowling, and I'm a retired attorney. I've been retired 5 years, and I had a practice at 1004th Street in San Rafael. And we're going to be making a presentation to you tonight. Okay, let's go ahead with the video.
Over 30% of the older adults in Marin live alone. As people go through the aging process, they can become more isolated, they can become more trusting of people that perhaps they shouldn't be trusting of, and it's a situation where financial abuse can easily take place. So the FAST team was formed. It's a group of volunteers working with the Division of Aging and Adult Services in Marin County. We have two purposes: to educate the public as to potentials for victimization. Our other goal is to actually process cases that are referred to us to perform a forensic accounting to see if fraud has actually taken place, and then to see if we can get a record and what would be done about that fraud. Some of our volunteers go out into the community and educate older adults on how not to fall victim to scams and become victims of financial abuse. We go to diverse locations such as mobile home parks, senior centers, town halls, and assisted living facilities. The more places that the team goes to educate the public, the more requests we get to do so. So it is our mission. We are going to be continuing to do education for the County of Marin.
That daughter who had her name on the bank account legally got all the money. Maybe hundreds. Older adults are a group who are especially the targets, and these are people that are in retirement homes, rest homes, in their own homes, some of them in hospitals, and folks that are targets for scam artists, people that are going to take advantage of them to take their money. Sometimes, along with the financial abuse, you have physical abuse, which is a terrible thing. And it's so terribly important to protect these people and to get the information out there. The police are sensitized. We all need to be sensitized to this problem.
In one of our presentations, we discussed this, and that we said it is all right to say no to somebody when they call you. There was one woman in the audience who probably was in her 80s, and she came up to us and said that she had been called various times over the past 6 months by an individual who kept asking her for money, and she just couldn't say no to that person. After she heard our presentation, she came up to us and said, "I want to thank you very much. Now you have given me permission to say no."
The other part of the team's goal is to perform forensic accountings on cases in which we suspect there is fraud, and we use the team to actually go through the documents and see if we have a case for prosecution of the fraud. So let me describe the process by which the team might be alerted to a case in which there is a problem. We get referrals from Marin County Police Departments, from the Marin County Sheriff, from Adult Protective Services, or the Public Guardian Office. In addition to that, community members can also report cases of fraud in which they're concerned that someone is being taken advantage of. These cases are funneled through the FAST team. They complete their investigation to determine if any fraud has occurred. If fraud has occurred, then we continue with the case. We forward it over to the district attorney, who also participates in the FAST process. The district attorney will determine if they have enough to actually bring charges to the person. The ultimate and best goal, of course, is if there is enough to charge the person, and if the person is convicted and then needs to make restitution to the client. That's the best possible outcome.
The FAST team is composed of many individuals with different skills, including accounting, finance, law, real estate, banking, psychologist, medicine. If you have that kind of a skill, I think you would find it very rewarding if you were to join us.
So I feel that being able to pass my expertise on that subject on is very rewarding. You get to make friends and you get to work together as a team, and I think that's very important.
Hello again. We have now concluded with the video, and we're moving on to a PowerPoint, which we use as our presentation on the issue of financial elder abuse. Roberta, you want to tell us about the PowerPoint?
Yes, the PowerPoint was formed by a network that was originally in San Francisco called the Elder Financial Protection Network. And we worked with them and were able to make these presentations by following their PowerPoint. And also the Marin County Department of Aging and Adult Services and Adult Protective Services is involved in this too.
So what we're dealing with here is the prevention of fraud, scams, and identity theft to the elderly. And our mission is to empower us elders to act as our own advocates and protect ourselves. With the way the condition of the economy is today, there is much exploitation going on. Roberta?
The legal definition, of course, for elders and dependent adults. An elder are those who are 65 and older. A senior, as you know, is 50 plus. A dependent adult can be 18 to 64 years with a significant disability. An elder and dependent adult abuse is a crime, and right now it's rampant.
It's important to understand that there's special laws protecting the elderly. There is an analogy there to child abuse. The children are protected and us elders are too. So as Roberta said, the numbers are just soaring. 1 in 100 cases are actually reported. That financial abuse is 15 to 45% of cases reported to Adult Protective Services. Roberta, you want to add to that?
Yes. Met at $2.9 billion in losses to financial abuse are from family and from caregivers. And when I worked in the bank, I witnessed a lot of the family type of financial abuse, which really surprised me at the time. Also, ARP estimates $40 million in losses annually to sweepstakes fraud targeting seniors. And if you read your ARP magazines that come to you in the mail, you will find that there is always a little section on different types of frauds every time you get that magazine. And since I've been doing this and on this committee, I've gotten a lot of information just from reading the ARP magazine.
There are many types of adult and elder abuse, which are indicated here on this next slide. So, as we said in the video, it's not just a matter of financial abuse. They usually go hand in hand with other kinds of abuse, which are listed here. Roberta, you want to add to that?
Yes. Self-neglect can lead to all these other types of abuse. They can lead to financial, physical, psychological, and all sorts of abuse. So it's important that if you know any seniors in your neighborhood, in your family, and are aware that something strange is going on, to report it. You don't have to give your name if you make a report, but somebody will go to the location and talk to the person.
So the extent of the problem we've talked about, one of the things that's a fact is that with us folks that are over 50 years old, we do control a lot of the net worth in the country. And as we move along in age and pass on, that is going to be passed on to the next generation. As long as we're still alive, it's still ours.
Why are elders targets? As Oak said, it's because they hold 70% of the wealth. And this is really important. We are trusting, and we are polite. So when people call us on the phone or approach us at our door, instead of saying, no way, or I don't want to talk to you, because that is rude, we don't do that. And therefore, they get into, or I should say we get into some financial problems or some scams. We are vulnerable to predators and may lack ability to protect ourselves because of memory, confusion, dementia, and so forth. And we're reluctant to report or prosecute relatives or friends. And Oak will talk more about that.
Yes, and Roberta, you noted very well in the video that that one lady you talked to said that she thanked you very much because you gave her the permission to say no, to just hang up. Why elders don't report? I think there's a sense of embarrassment there, that it's so hard for us to accept that we've been taken. We're sometimes dependent on others, caregivers, and we don't want to lose that kind of support. Do you want to add anything on that? Okay, who are the perpetrators? This is an interesting issue. And the first thing to see on this is, by golly, it's family members. That family members can be a big problem. And in my practice, I saw plenty of that. They're fighting amongst themselves in terms of the money of mom and dad. If mom's alone, that's a big, big problem area. Where else?
Salesmen and brokers. ARP has a series of films that one of them has information on people coming to your door saying that I see your roof needs help, it needs to be fixed, and I can do it for you for X amount of dollars, and the person says, oh yeah, I do have a leak, and allows the quote contractor unquote to come in and fix the roof, and they charge them more money. It's really important for anyone who comes to your door to make sure they show you their license, because if they are not licensed, you cannot sue them to get your money back. Also, telemarketers and con artists, which we will talk more about later, and thieves and opportunists have always been around.
Following up on that is an area which I have some acquaintance. These trust mills. You've seen the advertisements. Come in, we'll give you a free lunch. There's no such thing as a free lunch. And we want you to buy a form that you can fill out for yourself and create your own trust. I've seen many examples of where they have been done wrong. The forms are done wrong in the first place. There's all kinds of problems. Please beware of that. The other thing is, there is really no such thing as getting mom or dad on Medicare or Medi-Cal so as to free up all the assets to give to the kids. That's a scam. Roberta, you want to add?
There are numerous internet scammers. If you open your email and you see an email from somebody, you don't know who it is, you spam it. Spam the scammer. That's what I do every day. If I don't know the name, it goes into my spam. A couple of weeks ago, one of my very dear friends who happens to work in Marin County that I see maybe once a week, I got an email from her saying that she was in Europe and she had lost her wallet and that she didn't have any money to get home, and would I please send her some money because we're such good friends. Also, I looked at the line of all the people that she sent. You know, you can look and see all the people that somebody sends an email to besides you, and then it usually says more. So if you click on more, you'll see everybody on their contact list. You know that that's a scam. So beware of opening email specifically if you don't know somebody, and if you get the email that somebody is lost in Europe and needs money.
And one further thought, just because somebody goes doesn't mean you can trust them necessarily. Perpetrators, females just as likely as males without any doubt. And we talked about it, close relationships, other people, and who is the isolated individual. These scam artists are expert at picking you out. Next one.
Common thefts, frauds, and scams. We mentioned family and caregivers and others in a position of trust. Be careful who you give your powers of attorney to. And also, if you are asked to transfer the title of real estate or other property while you are still around to members of the family, you can get a living trust that has trustees involved that would get the property after you are deceased. So be sure to get a good attorney. And also telephone scams, the same kind of thing where somebody in your somebody says that they're in a car accident. Can you give you money? They're fake car accident scams and sweetheart scams. Recently, I received a phone call from somebody who claimed they were with with a charity of autism, and would I please send a donation. And when I said I don't do donations, they needed to they could send me something in the mail. The gentleman at the other end of the phone turns to somebody else in the room and said, "She won't give me any money." And he hung up. Well, he didn't realize he was saying that while I was still on. So don't ever give money when somebody calls you. I don't care what it is.
The old lottery and sweepstakes. There are people who are simply addicted to those kinds of programs, thinking that they can win it all. Believe me, you can't. And please don't get involved in those things.
I'd like to also mention an experience that I had when I was managing the bank. One of my tellers came up to me and said, "Mrs. Jones has been coming into the bank lately and taking out $25,000 out of her home equity line of credit." And she said, "I'm concerned about that." So Mrs. and Mr. Jones were at the bank at the time, and I called them over, and I said, I had a little chat with them, and during the chat, she said that she'd been given a sweepstakes, and she was told to send $25,000 in order to get her $100,000 that she needed to do that, and she had done it 3 times. So I contacted the San Anselmo Police Department, and they came and helped her out with that. But it really is common that people believe that they have come into a lot of money. And even my husband was shocked when his father told him that he had done that too.
Roberta, you want to speak about mandatory reporting of banks?
Yes. When this occurred, there was no mandatory reporting. But recently, I don't know when it came into effect. It was probably more than 10 years ago that we do have to report when we suspect that somebody is being scammed or someone is taking advantage of somebody else by the amount of money that's being taken from their accounts.
Of course, the so-called foreign lotteries and sweepstakes, you get this thing from wherever saying you've just won, but we need to have $2,500 to process your claim and so forth. What you need to do is hang up. We were at the senior fair at the Civic Center about 3 weeks ago, and we had a booth for the financial abuse specialist team, and a gentleman came up to the booth, and he told me he got a phone call from a man who said, "I'm able to check your computer on my computer online, and you have some errors and some problems on your computer. The graphics are wrong, the indenting is wrong." And so this gentleman that was telling me the story is about 85. He said, "Yeah, interesting," and he kind of led him on. And after about 10 minutes, the 85-year-old said to the guy on the other end, he said, "Can I say something?" The guy said, "Sure." He said, "I don't have a computer." Well, guess what? He got him.
Hiring help at home. This is really an issue, especially if you don't know anything about the person. It is possible to look into people's, you go online and you can find out if people have been arrested and if there's other issues that they've had. So if you can do that, you would be very helpful. Also, never interview anybody inside your home because you don't want anybody to know where you live. And interview with a friend or family members or hire a caregiver to help you. But you have to be really, really careful when you are hiring somebody to help you. It's good if you can find a friend who has had somebody help them that you can get a good reference from.
Further information on hiring help at home, and this is one of the more serious areas because once you let somebody in the house, they have access to your whole house and all your personal property, and if you aren't careful, it could be gone. Do you want to add anything, Roberta? Okay, let's go on. Home repair and contract scammers. Oh, there's something wrong with your roof.
The phrase to use is beware of incomings, people who are knocking at your door. And again, if you don't have a reference from somebody you know, don't let them come in.
And those of you in television land, if there's one thing you want to take away from our little talk here today or tonight is beware of the incomings, incoming everything, incoming calls, incoming mail, incoming people knocking at the door. Beware, beware. And contractor fraud. This is another rampant area. Be very careful who you hire to do work for you and on your house. And these are some of the ideas about avoiding contractor fraud. Obviously, you need a contract. And also, it doesn't hurt to have an acquaintanceship with lawyers. Lawyers are not bad people. They're nice people. Take your friendly lawyer to lunch, or maybe your lawyer take you to lunch. And some of the lawyers are women, some of them are men, and they can help you a great deal if you have a relationship.
You mean take them to lunch you mean to take them to eat? Yeah.
Investment scams and insurance fraud. Don't go it alone. Take your time. Don't be rushed. Always get a second opinion and check with an attorney and financial advisor to understand exactly what you're getting into. Check securities license with the Department of Corporations. But again, in investment scams and insurance fraud, usually it doesn't happen if you have been, if you know somebody has used the person, trust the person, and it's not from somebody who has called you or sent you an email.
And the state of California and the federal government has a lot of great brochures and documentation which is available to you to help you protect against these problems. Computer scams and cyber fraud, all this terrible spam that Roberta talked about that comes in, just delete it. Don't open it. Don't open it. You want to add anything, Roberta?
Yes. All the different names, that, they're kind of funny. Phishing, starting with a PH. Phishing is, they send you emails and they're just phishing to get information from you if you answer. Spoofing kind of tells you what exactly it is. It's not true. The Nigerian scams, that tells you that you've won a lottery, a different type of lottery than the other lottery scams. And we talked about the Friends accident and mugging scams too.
All right, here's one that I really want to talk about because not even Roberta has heard this one from me yet. About a month ago, I received a bill at my old address. I'm a retired attorney. It was at my old law office address. And it was from a company that will go nameless at this point for $130.80. So I went down to the local outlet for this company and I said, I got this bill. And it's sent to my old address and I didn't incur this bill. And they said, you are a victim of identity theft. I said, no, I'm not. I think you just made a mistake. So one thing led to another and I made a police report. That's the best thing that I ever did, and it's the best thing you can do if you have any suspicion, the slightest suspicion, and it wasn't even my credit card that was involved. File the police report. The police department is expert at helping you on this. The other thing I want to add that's very, very important is if you have homeowners insurance, there's a very good chance that you have identity theft coverage and that the company will do all the legwork. I have spent over 15 hours on that $130 bill to shut those people down.
It's very important to know how people get the information about you. They can go in your mailbox. Some people who don't go to a mailbox on the street, sometimes leave their mail somewhere for the postman to pick up by their house, and anybody can go in their mailbox. So these criminals take the mail out of your mailbox. Hopefully you're paying a bill, and then they can reproduce your check, or they can erase different things. They have a special way to erase who the check is written to and the amount. They can also steal your Social Security number if you happen to give it to somebody that you don't know. The only person, I don't even give my Social Security number when I go to a doctor's office, although they ask you for it. You do not have to give your Social Security number to anybody except the bank, because the bank will not open an account for you or give you a loan without a Social Security number. So do not give your Social Security number out.
Roberta, you want to talk about ATMs and that so-called shoulder surfers, people that are looking over your shoulder when you're entering your PIN number on the ATM. Watch out for that. And don't leave valuable things in plain sight in your car. You aren't going to get it then. Identity theft we talked about. Roberta just talked about the Social Security number issues. Okay, so be wise, beware. Powers of attorney are huge areas. I just have looked at some government brochures on this subject, and this is increasingly becoming a problem. Power of attorney gives all of your rights to somebody else to deal with your property. You've got to be very careful with that. Roberta?
Part of being wise and being aware is shredding your mail, especially the mail that comes to you that is offering you a credit card, because part of that mail has your name and address on it. And if you just throw it away and somebody picks it up, they can pretend like you're you, put in any social security number, and then there's your name and address, just like Oak received that bill. So shred your mail, especially the mail that has part of your name and address on it, to sign up for something. And also ask for help. If you feel that there's something going on that you're not really, you don't feel good about, ask for help on solving the problem. And again, feel free to say no.
And certainly avoid isolation. I think that's the cure for old age. Be a good neighbor, and I think it's find somebody that you can trust, that you can go to when you have questions and problems. The biggest problem is if you do nothing. The phone number for Adult Protective Services is there, 415-473-2774. Please call them if you have the slightest question or problem. There are many resources in the county, Marin County Legal Aid. The FAST team is available. There's many, many others. Roberta?
Go ahead.
And also we have the police. You can always call 911, and I really want to emphasize, folks, how good the police were to me when I made my police report on this recent incident. They are the place to go, believe me. Also, the county can help you as well. Community outreach events, we are available to give presentations like this to all kinds of groups. We've spoken now to probably over 700 people in Marin County between Novato and Sausalito. We are happy to come to your organization or your homes, retirement homes, etc., and give this presentation. And again, if you have any problems, please make that call. And with that, I think we're over. Roberta, any last words?
Just be careful.
Be careful. I think we are now done.
I'm just wondering if...
Any questions from the audience? We can zero in on you guys. Do you have any questions?
Yes, what's the liability that the bank has? What is the liability that the bank has if they haven't monitored?
That's a question. What is the liability that the bank has if there is a scam or loss of money?
It would depend on how obvious it was. Like when the teller noticed that this has been going on at a teller window, and then reported it. But sometimes people never look at their bank statements. So if you don't look at your bank statement and all of a sudden after 6 months you look and you see, oh my goodness, all this money has been taken out of my account. Why didn't you tell me? Well, the bank doesn't monitor your statement, and it's required that people within 45 days tell the bank that there's a problem with their account. And the bank can look into it, and a police report can be made. But banks aren't liable because it is the person's responsibility to monthly check their.
The other thing I would suggest is check your credit card statements, and that would be online as well. Also, I think what Roberta is saying too is if you catch it soon enough with the bank, maybe it's something the bank can reverse and protect your money.
And they do. They do. If it's caught, the bank will reverse, and it just depends on the time frame.
Any other questions at all? I think one of the things that we really are seeing a lot more of is elder scams. And the problem is, as we age, it's harder to check things online. It's harder to do things for yourself. And the result is you have to get somebody in to help you and do it, but get the right person. Yes?
Can you talk about conservatorship or other options, conservatorship?
Oh, yes, conservatorship. I'd be glad to, because I did a lot of that in my law. Conservatorships are very expensive. They are public. They are matters which involve extensive court filings. If there's a way to avoid it safely, fine, do it. Which then brings the whole question up of estate planning. And we're not here to talk about all the different vehicles of that. That's another lecture. On the other hand, one of the things that's very important is get your estate planning done while you are competent. If you have advanced Alzheimer's and you really aren't competent, then it's going to have to go to court as a conservatorship. And the court will do your estate plan, and that's all of the problems we just talked about. So please, please do it. I would say statistically within the United States, only 25% of the people, if that, have wills. It's probably less than that. Why? Because they don't think they're going to die. They say in Canada that they know that they got a plan for death, but in the United States, death is an option. So I'm sorry to tell you, that's not the case, folks, and we're not here on that. So another reason to get with a nice, decent lawyer who can work with you on these issues. Further questions? Okay, yes.
Is there another option besides conservatorship for protecting a senior's?
Yes, very good question. Again, there are many. There are many options other than conservatorships, and we could spend another hour on that, and we can't do that tonight. But I can tell you that everything from a living trust to a power of attorney to things like the so-called springing power of attorney are all available. I know that Roberta has gotten lots of experience with people who have put their names on bank accounts, and they wind up having as much power of the bank account as the elder, and sometimes the money starts to disappear. So again, you have those kinds of options that can come in. There really are more than that. I've only just named a few, and in my day I did a lot of living trusts. I didn't do that many conservatorships because people came to me in time, and we got it done before we had to worry about conservatorships. It was when people didn't take care of business and somebody had lapsed into Alzheimer's so badly that we had to go to court. Do you want to add anything on that?
No, you're the expert.
Okay, yes.
You had talked about power of attorney. So can elders change their power of attorney?
Absolutely. One of the things that we've got in the handouts, we have a really beautiful series of handouts here, is a booklet that is put out by the FDIC. And it's the Consumer Fraud Protection Bureau, part of the FDIC. And they talk about powers of attorney. If you grant a power of attorney to somebody, you can revoke it. The problem is that you better be sure that the word gets out to everybody that has copies of it that it's revoked, because it can be spread over from here to kingdom come. And let's say that you've given the power of attorney and that's been copied 10 times. How do you know who has copies? So you need to have control of it. This is where the attorney can have a lot of help, because the attorney can keep control of it. I've only had one instance in my practice of 43 years where a power of attorney started to go bad, and boy, I pulled the cord on that fast. And we revoked it quick, and it stopped. So yes, revocation is important. But you're 85 years old, 88 years old, you don't know a power of attorney from a baseball bat. You don't know. And you need to have somebody else help you with this. You know, certainly gerontologists have stories, you know, going on and on and on about these things. It's not just attorneys. It's the banker. It's the gerontologist, the nurse, all of these, the people in the county health services, all of these different organizations can point you to the right direction. Just find them and ask. That's the big problem. Anything further?
My phone was just stolen.
Oak brought up this, what we give to people who come to our lectures, And one of the things that we have that's really good, and it's new, is from the California Department of Corporations, and it talks about all different kinds of frauds and managing your money and financial difficulties, and it tells you who to be suspicious of, and it's really good. So you will be getting this to read. And hopefully, if more people come to our presentations, we'll be able to give out more.
Yeah. Well, that'll be great, and I know that this is being televised, so hopefully all of you in television land will come and see us.